Welcome back. So you don't heal a lifetime of self-abandonment with just one breakthrough or one introductory class like this, or even one big decision. The only way to do it is with just small little moments of self-loyalty that you just repeat over and over. Think of the second hands on a clock. The hours move really slow, but how do they get there? Just tiny little increments of change. That's how you change all of this, all right? It's just tiny little movements. And that's what this lesson is about, is because up to now, we've been naming and understanding, the basics of what's going on in the, previous parts of this class. The void, the childhood blueprint, your shame engine, your overheated nervous system because of the combination of shame and fear and shame from the worst day cycle, which gave birth to your survival persona. And then the solution is the combination of emotional authenticity and the authentic self cycle. Well, now we're going to kind of put some of that in motion with a few, just 5 simple, repeatable, or just a 5-minute repeatable practice that you can start using. Tiny little behaviors that you can start using today to let your body know, hey, I'm just not going to abandon you anymore. I'm going to stay with you. So I just want you to treat these like experiments, because as a high achiever, you're going to look at it as a test. I got to prove. That's not what this is. I want you to think of it as an experiment, because an experiment, you're meant not to achieve, you're meant to learn. See how that just releases shame and opens the door to grace, forgiveness, understanding, growth, for that childhood emotional blueprint to be pushed aside, and you can get to the core of your inherent value and worth. You don't have to be or do anything. You just get to learn. All right? So we're going to walk through 3 core practices: the 60-second check-in, the micro no, and the void visit. And we're going to start with the 60-second check-in first. And this will be kind of a foundation of your little second-hand clock of change that you're going to, deal with. Because most high achievers are so used to living from the neck up that, they have a hard time actually feeling until they're in just total collapse. So the 60-second check-in is to try and get you back into your body, because high achievers mostly detach from themselves because childhood was so hurtful. Really, whether they're ready to admit that or not, that's what made them high achievers. So this is how you start rebuilding that relationship with yourself and the emotional world, because again, the way the brain works, every thought and action we take starts with an emotion. And so high achievers try and think they think they're thinking their way out of a problem. They don't realize that whatever thought they're having an emotion to drive that thought. And so those thoughts and actions will even improve when they get in touch with the source of the thought and the actions. And this is just a small little practice to begin helping that get even better. So here's how it works. I'm just going to suggest one day. If you can do it more, ideally a few times, you just stop. Just take 60 seconds. And the way I did this is I used the alarm function on my phone. Set it on mute because you'd be busy, but I'd have it in my pocket, and so the alarm would go off and it would remind me, got to check in. And your goal is just to attach to, and you may not want to do it the way I did it, but pick something, like maybe after you park your car, or every day before you open your laptop, or maybe before you go to bed, whatever it is, pick some sort of system that works for you and just ask yourself a couple of simple questions. What am I feeling right now? Remember, you can use the feelings wheel. Get it off my website or go to Google. A lot of my clients, they put it as a screensaver on their phone. Just go, what am I feeling right now? They look at it. All right? Feel that in your body. Okay? And then ask yourself the second question. Is there anything I need right now in this moment? And what do I actually need now? Okay? Not what should I be feeling, or what should I need, or what do they need from me? You. This is about you. What are you feeling? What do you need? So you might notice you feel anxious or resentful or numb or tired, just exhausted. You might actually feel like you need a break or need some water, or need to just step away from dealing with the emails in front of you. Or maybe that you just need to stop because you can't do this right now. Whatever it is, You don't have to act perfectly on any of these things and on any of those needs. Not in this moment or every time. Every once in a while. You know? Second hands on a clock. Just small little change. The goal of this is to stop pretending, is to get into truth, to take responsibility and begin the healing process, authentic self-cycle. And, stop pretending that you just don't have needs and that you don't have feelings. So you're beginning to send your authentic self the message, hey, I'm at least going to ask. I'm going to at least listen. That alone starts to soften that void and fill it up. Its tank is empty. It needs your care. Because the void is what forms when you never ask what you feel or what you need. And you live only for everybody else or living for external achievement. Okay, so the second practice is where things get a little bit more, for some people, uncomfortable, but in a really good way. So you've spent your life saying yes to things that cost you, whether that was extra work or plans you don't want to, make with somebody or tolerating behavior that really hurts you. And your survival persona was just trained, to preserve connection by sacrificing you. So the micro-no is actually an act of emotional authenticity and nervous system retraining. And it just looks like once a day or a few times a week to start, if that's, easier for you. You just pick one small place to say no or say yes to less often than you normally would, okay? Now, what I teach my clients is, because it's so hard for many clients to say no, I tell them for the first week, when you get a request to something you know you want and doesn't cause you any stress at all, say no. I actually tell them, don't say no. Say, that just doesn't work for me right now. But in other words, learn to attach to yourself in a way that there's no cost. There's no stress. Just to get in the practice of recognizing you can do it. That's a little shift on the clock. So, maybe somebody asks you to do something, you're just like, that doesn't work for me today. But maybe later this week, check back with me. Or instead of answering that text immediately, you look at yourself and you go, yeah, I don't have the emotional reserves. I'll answer that tomorrow. Okay? Or you say to somebody, I would love to see you, but I can only stay for an hour. All right? So it doesn't have to be something big and dramatic. In fact, it's better if it's really small and insignificant. Well, if you've had a hard time, none of it feels insignificant, but you get my point. Because the goal here is just building nervous system tolerance. It's called titration, where we glance into something and let you go back. And, you just bounce in between the two states so your nervous system doesn't get shocked. And over time, you make that bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually it just wham. Now this becomes the new normal. Well, again, this is a mini course. That's deep work with clients, classes, all the other stuff. But I'm just giving you the beginning steps to learn how to titrate. All right. It gives you a taste of self-loyalty. Now, of course, your shame engine is just going to kick in and have a lot to say when you do any of this. And, it's going to be like, oh, come on, you don't need to do this. None of this is a big deal. Or, in the moment, it'll tell you to say yes and tell you that you're selfish and that it's okay and it's not a big deal and it's not going to bug you. And, it's going to just try and, take control of everything again. And the goal here isn't to shut that voice up, because remember, that voice was created from pain. So it doesn't need more shame, all right? All you're doing is showing it that you're allowed to choose yourself, just a tiny bit, and you'll still feel safe. So you're allowed to have limits and still be worthy. So every little micro no that you use is just one brick off the wall of self-abandonment. Okay, now this next one, it's going to feel like the opposite of really everything you've trained yourself to do. And that's exactly why it works. So you spent your whole life running from the void, which is that empty, lonely, dark, hollow. For me, it's an overwhelming emptiness. Just hollow. Like when I would experience it, nothing could ever touch it. And it would creep in when it goes quiet. Is that when it creeps in for you? when things get really quiet. It's how it is for most people. So we're going to visit that void in a very short, structured, safe way. So you can stop running and start relating to that. That's the really hurt part of ourselves, all right? And it needs our care. So here's the suggestion. Again, once a day or a few times a week, just give yourself 2 minutes. If you can't do that, a minute. If you can't do that, 30 seconds. If you can't do that, 15 seconds. If you can't do that, 5 seconds. Whatever you can tolerate is enough. Learn to titrate. Do for 5 seconds. Do that for 3 days. Then go, okay, let's go 10 seconds for 3 days. Okay, let's go 20 seconds. Just learn to sit down somewhere safe, whether it's a couch, your car, your bed, maybe a park bench. Just put your phone away, let your body be still just long enough to notice all that discomfort and pain that's just been buried under there. And you might feel empty, really heavy, maybe a pressure in your chest, or your legs. Just, I found out I hold most of my legs or most of my stress in my legs. When I play hockey, I was a goalie, and at the start of the game, I felt like my legs were in cement. Well, as I learned about all this stuff, I looked back and went, well, oh my God, that's where my hollowness shut down. I was, and the symbolism of it, legs, I didn't want to step forward. I didn't want to step out of the past into the future, into a life of success that was complete and whole. I was using sports to try and fill the void, which kept me trapped. My legs were in cement, stuck in my childhood, never, ever growing up, never feeling safe, never feeling anything but that deep, dark, empty hole and void. What is it for you? You could just feel nothing, just no. Whatever you feel, it's okay. You're not trying to fix it. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just experiencing yourself for the first time. So you're not here to force a breakthrough on yourself. You just simply experience it. And if you can, out loud, just quietly say to yourself, all right, I feel you now. And it's okay that you exist. And I'm going to stay with you. I'm not going to abandon you anymore, at least not in this moment. I'll do the best I can to stay with you for as long as I can right now. That's it. You don't judge it. You don't explain it away. You don't turn it into some sort of project and make it something you have to achieve and succeed at. You're just letting that part know, for this brief amount of time, I won't run away from you. I'm just going to be here with you. And then, when you're 5 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes are up, just go back onto your day. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to deal with it. Nothing. Now, why does that matter? Because experiencing our void, it's not punishment. It felt punished. And it's the part of you that's been alone the longest. So visiting it instead of outrunning it is how you start to show that part of yourself that just won't be left behind anymore, not in this new life that you're creating. So these 3 practices, the 60-second check-in, the micro no, and the void visit, are small, but emotionally, they're massive. They're you saying to yourself, I'm going to stay. I'm going to actually live my life from my authentic self, from my internal value and worth. These 3 practices, you're saying it's okay for me to accept that I am always valuable and I am always worthy, that none of this makes me valuable and worthy. That's not where it comes from. It comes from these simple little moments, these little ticks on the clock where I recognize and validate and honor who I really am. That being with me, not those things around me, are enough. All right? Now, you won't do any of this perfectly. Some days you're going to forget, and some days you'll just avoid it. And some days that worst day cycle, survival persona, shame engine's just going to jump up and it'll win and try and tell you all this is stupid and crazy, and it's going to rob you of your skill, and I need this to achieve, and do all the games it always plays. And it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means you're human, and the brain is just doing what it knows. And, that's part of the journey and the process of making the small changes in our life. But so the goal here is not perfection. It's just repetition. It's just a commitment. Remember what the authentic self cycle is? Truth, responsibility, healing. We're getting into truth that we need to do this. We're taking responsibility by putting a plan in place. And these are small little healing steps to get us along that way. Okay? Because each time you show up for one of these practices, you've just stepped a tiny little inch out of the worst day cycle and just 1 inch closer and more inside your authentic self cycle and your authentic self. Again, you're just telling yourself the truth. This is what I feel, and this is what I need, and this is what my void actually feels like, and I'm actually going to admit to it and experience it. And I'm going to take responsibility by taking one small action instead of doing what I always do and abandon myself through external validation. And I'm going to do the healing work, and so my body can just slowly, safely learn that it's okay to feel. It's okay for me to have needs and take a rest, and I won't be destroyed when I do that. And when I do those three things, forgiveness comes for the people who place this void in me, and for myself, for all the years I chased external validation. And not because I was bad or wrong, but nobody taught me how to do this. Society says this is the way to fill the void. I didn't know they were lying. It's not my fault. So it just helps you start, all right? And so I'm going to give you some journaling prompts that can help you anchor these practices in your day. So you don't have to write paragraphs when you do this. Just bullet points are enough. But answer them at the end of the day for the next week. And watch. Watch what shifts. Okay? So first, just on the first prompt, you can just ask yourself, when I checked in with myself, what was I actually feeling? And what did I discover I actually needed? Even if you only did like 1 60-second check-in, write it down. Write down what you noticed. All right? The second one is, what was one micro no I either said or even if you didn't see, you can see this as a micro improvement and titration into reconnecting to yourself. Maybe you weren't able to use a micro no, but you thought about it. That's victory. Write it down. What happened inside and out as you even considered taking care of yourself. All right? Now, if you didn't try any of it, just be honest about where you abandoned yourself. Okay? Again, it's not about shaming yourself. You're just getting into truth. You're building awareness for the next time. Okay? And then third, did you visit your void today? If so, what did you notice? What did you experience? If not, what did you do instead? Did you discover an avoidance technique that actually makes the void bigger? Like this is how you keep it alive? Describe your experience. So did you feel anything in your body or get restless? If you did check in, did you hear your shame engine start up and start telling you shouldn't be doing this or whatever it was? Or again, did you just skip it and, go back to your usual distraction? Again, none of these are about blame. These are about telling the truth about how we're living with ourselves. So as always, the prompts will be down below the video so you can come back to them whenever it works for you. But in the next lesson, we're going to talk about what happens as these practices start to work and how your definition of success is going to change massively in a way that is more complete. It actually fills the void because the definition you have now just makes the void bigger. And so you're going to learn how to build a version of success that both your authentic self and your nervous system can actually live inside of. And you'll merge the two together, okay? And you'll do it without feeling that constant pressure and without the void and the shame voice running the show. But for now, just pick up one of the practices that I suggested in this video. And I'll see you in the next one.